In our last lesson, we understood the meaning of migration, and we also understood that migration can be voluntarily done or involuntarily done. That is, people might be forced to migrate to another country. We further understood that migration can be because of various reasons. We also understood that migration can be short term or long term depending on the purpose of migration. In today's lesson, we will be understanding the types of migration. So, here we have Ria. Ria is Ravi's friend. If you remember Ravi from the last lesson, yes, the same Ravi. So, Ria is Ravi's friend and they two are of the same age, right? Now, Ria's father also has got a job opportunity, a job offer, a better one in Japan. So, they live in India, but now that her father has got a better offer in Japan, they have decided to migrate to Japan, right? So they migrated from India to Japan. So you see that this is an international migration, right? They are moving from one country to another. While in Ravi's case, even they migrated from one country to another. But there's a difference. And what is the difference? So the difference here is that while Ravi's family migrated from India to Australia, Ria's family migrated from India to Japan. Now, if you be very careful with the examples, you will realize very soon that here they are moving from one continent to a separate continent, while here they are moving between two different countries of the same continent. So both of them are international migration, but one is intercontinental and the other is intracontinental. So this is two countries of two separate continent and this is two countries of same continent, right? So here we understood that migration is international migration and it can be intercontinental as well as intracontinental. So to cite an example, migration of Europeans to different parts of Asia, Africa and Australia in order to set up colonies and settle there is an example of intercontinental migration. That is, they moved from one country to another of two separate continents, right? So this is an example of intercontinental migration. Now here is another example. So migration of people after partition of India in 1947 is an example of intracontinental migration. So this particular partition in India 1947 is an example of intracontinental migration. Why? This is because people in huge numbers, maybe in million, migrated between India and Pakistan. So these two countries are separate countries, but they are of the same continent, that is Asia. So this here is an example of intracontinental migration. So before we proceed with the lesson, could you help me answer this question? So, migration of people after partition of India 1947 is an example of which type of migration? Is it intercontinental, internal or intracontinental? I think you've already guessed it right. The answer is intracontinental migration. Yes, because they migrated between India and Pakistan, which are two separate countries but of the same continent, that is Asia. So just like migration can be international, another type of migration is national or internal migration. Now what do we mean by national or internal migration? Well, to understand this, I have a simple example here. Take for instance, Sachin is a school pass out and he wants to pursue his graduation in a subject. Take for instance economics, for which the best college is not in West Bengal where he is currently living, but it is in Punjab. So to pursue his graduation, he will need to move out of West Bengal and go to Punjab, right? So this migration, as you can see, is internal. So he has to migrate within two different states of the same country, and he does not have to move out of the country. So it's a national migration. The movement is national, right? So this type of migration can be categorized as national or internal migration. And again, this type of migration has 4 subdivisions, namely rural to urban migration, urban to urban migration, then we have urban to rural, and finally we have rural to rural. Well, all of these are very interesting in their own, and we'll be learning about each of them in details as we proceed. So the most common form of internal migration is from rural to urban, and this is generally because there are better health facilities, educational facilities, better job opportunities in cities than in rural areas. So urban to rural migration is the most common form of national or international migration, where people from villages and rural or isolated places move out to cities where they have jobs waiting for them, they have higher pay scale, and they also have better health facilities and educational facilities, right? Now, another type of internal migration is urban to urban migration. Now we have often seen that skilled laborers move from small cities to more advanced and technologically developed cities. In India, we have seen that people tend to migrate to metropolitan cities. So metropolitan cities are cities that are very developed and they have more jobs and better job opportunities for people out there. So they tend to migrate from small cities and towns to these metropolitan cities such as Delhi and Mumbai. And this is with regard to India. However, this is also seen across the globe, where people who are skilled laborers, they have talent in hand and they have to find a better job for themselves where the pay scale is higher, where they have health facilities provided by the company or the place they are working at. So they move to these metropolitan cities. So urban to urban migration is another form of internal migration. Now the third type of internal migration is urban to rural migration. Let me tell you, this is often seen in the dependent population, that is people who have retired or who are very old. So why is it so common in the old aged people rather than people who are a part of the working population or they are independent? This is because old aged people or retired people do not really favor or like the noise pollution, the different types of pollution, the congestion in cities, and now they want peace. So they generally move from an urban area to a rural area where they are availed of the basic amenities, right? So noise pollution, traffic congestion, industrial pollution, all these are factors that lead to the movement of people or migration of people from urban areas to rural areas. So talking about the same type of internal migration, that is urban to rural, we see that the difference in landscape also plays a very important role. So you see that cities, as you have been living in or you have been seeing, that they are very congested, right? So the space is less, pollution is more, noise is more, and people are always in a hustle, right? So people who want peace and they do not prefer such congestion, they move from urban areas to rural areas where there is more space, more greenery, and there is absolute peace. So here's a picture here showing a rural area. So you see there's a huge land here with one house. And then again there are fields, green fields. So what do you think? Will this be more peaceful or will this be more peaceful? So it is generally seen in retired people because they have finished their working age and now they want peace and a lot of rest. So they decide to move from an urban area to a rural area. So a difference in landscape also plays a very important role. Now finally coming to the fourth type of internal or national migration, and that is rural to rural migration. So why do you think people move from one rural area to another rural area? Now this might be because one rural area has better government policies, they have a larger market where they can earn more, so the earning prospect is higher, and they have better drainage facility or any other such factors that may attract them or drive them from one rural area to another rural area. So here we understood 4 types of national or internal migration. So in this lesson, we learned about the types of migration, where we started with international migration. It has 2 types, intercontinental and intracontinental. This is a type of migration in which people internationally migrate from one country to another of 2 separate continents, while in intracontinental migration, people tend to migrate from one country to another of the same continent, right? Another type of or another category of migration can be national or internal migration, as we just learned, and this again has 4 types: rural to urban, urban to urban, urban to rural, and rural to rural. So this was all about the types of migration. In our next lesson, we'll be understanding the positive as well as negative impact of migration. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers, or to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock test. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.